Welcome to the ByteGuard podcast, a frontline in the world of tech. I'm Zaid, a computer science and IT student exploring how technology shapes our lives, from AI and cybersecurity to the latest digital trends. So plug in, stay curious, and let's decode the future, one byte at a time. Hi guys, welcome back to another ByteGuard podcast, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about the cloud. Now, the reason I chose this topic is because it primarily stems from the AWS attack that happened on, I think it was Monday, I can't remember when it happened now, but sometime this week when the likes of Snapchat, Ring and Lloyds went down. Now, obviously that was due to AWS shutting down, which is a form of the cloud or a cloud service provider. But many of us don't actually know what the cloud is, so that's what we're going to break down today. So what exactly is the cloud? So according to Microsoft Azure, or however you guys want to say it, but I'm sure you guys want to know what I mean. The cloud is a vast online storage space where people and businesses store their files and applications, making them accessible from anywhere with an internet connection. So that might seem like a lot, but let me just break it down a little bit further. So think about it like this. You have stuff in your own house, right? But say if your house gets a bit too full because you've got guests over or something, you move some of the stuff that's in your house to someone else's house and you pay them a little bit just to keep it there for you, either temporarily or permanently. You can choose however long you want to keep it there, if that makes sense. So essentially it works like this. So let's use the context of a large organization. Large organizations that have a lot of data, which they'll store on these things called servers, which they'll keep on site. But sometimes, being able to make this data available anywhere, you might have to move it to something called a cloud service provider, which is like AWS or Google Drive, which means the data isn't stored where you are, and it's not stored on your physical computer or servers, it's stored on the cloud provider servers, so AWS servers. So let me make that a bit simpler again. Say you're working on a Word document and you put that onto your laptop. That Word document is only available on your laptop, right? But then if you upload it to a cloud service provider like Microsoft OneDrive, then that means that Word document is available anywhere your Microsoft account is signed in. So say if you went to a work or school and you logged in with your Microsoft account, that document would be there for you to use. So everyone regularly uses the cloud, whether they notice it or not. So you're probably familiar with Netflix. So streaming anything on Netflix is using the cloud. Playing games like Clash that went down earlier in the week is using the cloud. And also, many of you might have an iPhone, so you're most likely to have iCloud storage, which obviously in the name uses the cloud. And for those of us who have Androids, don't worry, I'm not going to miss you out. You have Google Drive, which I think is better in my opinion because you actually get more storage for free. But that's a debate for another day. So it's all well and good knowing about the cloud, but why does the cloud actually matter? So for everyday users, which I think most of my listeners are, it's really useful to have easy access to files. So you can literally access them on the go. You don't need to carry a big USB dongle everywhere with you. It's also useful for backups. So say if your phone storage runs out, you can easily upload it to the cloud and start fresh. So you've always got the memories there, but then you've always got enough storage space as well. And it's useful for syncing devices. So most of you will do this without actually knowing that you're doing it. So take, for example, Google Chrome. Your browser history is usually available, if you've got the setting turned on, usually available across all the devices you've signed into. So on your laptop, you could search for, the best recipe to cook an omelette. And that page that you visited will automatically come up onto your phone. So essentially you can just take that website wherever you go. So say if you're going to a friend's house to cook that omelette, you don't need to search for that recipe again. And in terms of businesses, the cloud is really scalable. So that means that I have the definition. Just give me a minute. So being scalable means that you can choose how much you use. So you can, on a heavy month, you'll probably use more cloud storage, but on a lighter month, you'll probably use less. So that means you can pay flexibly as well. So essentially it turns out cheaper, making it very cost efficient. And also the global availability kind of helps. So say if you're a multinational, in an international organization, like for example, Unilever, they're quite, an international organization. So they'll have offices in pretty much every country that needs to share data to other countries, like, business analytics, etc. So they can only do that because of the cloud. There's not a person, or a delivery system involved that transports different hard drives. It's all done over the cloud. In education, the cloud is a major player, a major player. And it's dramatically transformed how our education system works, not just here in the UK, but globally. So it makes it more accessible. So it allows for students to participate in remote learning when in the past, before cloud, if you were at home and you were ill, you would have missed out on a day's worth of learning. And usually, probably wouldn't have caught up on it the next day because the teachers probably moved on for the rest of the class. Not only does it provide opportunities for classroom-based learning at home, but also all these online courses you see, like Learn How to Code, like W3 Schools, they wouldn't exist without the cloud. Now, my podcast wouldn't exist without cloud, so it just tells you how reliant we are on the cloud. It's also used in healthcare, where all the patient data has now been centralized to one system. So the patient could, if it was supported, they could walk into any GP surgery and their data would just be there, all on a big database that's stored in the cloud. I just want to point out that something being stored in the cloud, it doesn't mean that it's in a different country. It just means it's in a different location. So you could literally have a cloud server down the road from you and you wouldn't know it. It just, like by law, a lot of data such as your healthcare data is required to stay in the UK. So it's not going to go out anywhere. I don't want to worry anyone with that. So I thought I'd just make that point clear. The cloud is also used in environmental sustainability. So obviously environmental sustainability is quite a big thing at the moment, because, humans have realized the impact they make on the planet, including from tech. So it's used to increase sustainability. So if you had a document that you needed to take to another place, you wouldn't take your entire laptop or anything like that in the past. You'd probably take a printout of it because, we're lazy. We like to do the things the quickest way that's possible. But now with cloud storage, you can just upload that document to your cloud service provider. So in this case, Microsoft OneDrive. You'd go to that place and you just log in again and get that document. You don't need to worry about, wasting trees by, printing out a lot of paper because, it adds up eventually. And another key use of the cloud is in economic growth. So it lowers the barriers for startups and small businesses because it allows for these small companies to have, a large amount of storage which previously they wouldn't have had access to, or they would have had access to it, but it would have been extremely expensive. And the scalability aspect of the cloud, it allows the businesses to adjust and as they grow to then support the business properly rather than just buying a bunch of storage and either running out or not using any of it. It all leads to a waste of money. Okay, so we've covered what the cloud is and we've covered why it matters. So what exactly is the cloud in terms of its services? What kind of services does the cloud actually offer? Because it's all well and good saying, oh, I've just uploaded it to the cloud. But what does that mean? So there's 3 key services of cloud: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So infrastructure as a service is basically a virtualized computing resource over the internet, such as virtual machines, storage, and networks. So essentially, it's just how you have your laptop right now, the operating system on there. You can make a virtual version of that, which means that operating system isn't actually stored on your computer. It's stored on a separate server, and your computer just links to the server to be able to display the operating system. And it's common in like schools, where your computers in your computer suite, they won't actually be used as a computer itself. Instead, they'll just be used as essentially like I want to say a hub. Obviously, in networking terms, that's not correct, but we're just going to use that analogy. It's essentially a hub that can connect to the network, and it can provide you with whatever that server is displaying. In this case, the operating system and all the stuff that's on there, like individual user drives, which, if you log on to any computer in your computer suite, you're likely to have access to your user drive. And it also provides the functionalities of the computer itself. Next, we have platform as a service. So it's basically, it allows developers usually use this. It allows developers to framework and build and deploy, as well as manage different applications. And it minimizes the need for the developers to actually have the infrastructure to run software already there. So it allows them to have more time to focus on the actual build of the app and making sure that it's high quality, rather than looking at all the back end stuff and making sure they've got all the infrastructure already in place, if you get what I mean. And finally, we have software as a service. Now, this is where it's essentially applications that are run over the internet. Usually on a subscription-based model, so obviously the user has to pay a fee to use that software. It basically allows individuals and organizations to be able to access and use software without having dedicated hardware and infrastructure already in place. And it also slightly reduces the cost, because you don't need to have any local installations, and you don't need to have any maintenance staff to maintain the software. It's all done by a provider. So take Microsoft 365, for example. You can get Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all that, all over the internet, and you don't have to touch it at all. All you have to do is use it. It's all managed by Microsoft. So that's an example of software as a service. Let's look at the benefits and the drawbacks of the cloud, because I always like to start with the benefits. So let's just look at the benefits first. So it offers easy access to files from any device with an internet connection. So like your photos on your phone, that can be made available on your laptop. So you can always set a wallpaper on your laptop, same as your phone. It's scalable, which I've already explained, basically where you have, you can choose how much cloud storage you use. So say on a light month, I know I'm going to use a certain amount of storage, so I'll put that much on. But the month after, I need a bit more, so I'll increase the amount. So the cost changes a little bit as well. It also allows online learning platforms, etc., to work, to allow students to access materials from the comfort of their own home. And it also allows teachers to be more flexible by not having to print out a bunch of sheets for your homework. They can just submit an assignment on the likes of Teams, Google Classroom, and it allows you to just allows the student to complete it on that within that educational platform like Teams, and they can submit it straight away and receive feedback from wherever they are. So say if you're on holiday, you could, I don't know who does homework on their holiday, but if you're behind a little bit and you need to do the little bit of homework on your holiday, you can do it from, the comfort of the beach. We also saw the benefits of cloud storage in COVID-19, the pandemic COVID-19, where students, we were forced out of schools, and then the schools were shut. And, school kept running through these cloud platforms. Without it, I don't think many students would be as, switched on as they are today, if it wasn't for the cloud storage and that continuous education that we received. And finally, it allows governments, I'll talk about governments because this is a very government-related point. But yeah, it allows them to enhance the efficiency of public services. So there's been a development in the tax filing systems and the license renewals, such as driving licenses, and that's all due to the cloud-based systems. Before, to book a driving test, you used to have to fill out a form and you'd have to send it off and be given a date. But now you can literally book a driving test on the website, and you can even rebook your driving test all automatically from obviously the government website, which is based on the cloud. Now the drawbacks. And one of the key drawbacks, as I'm sure you're aware, is outages. Just like AWS last week. So it just shows that even the biggest cloud providers, which sometimes we think are just secure, they're not. They're always they're likely to fail. And it affects crucial services like your banks, like the entirety of Lloyds Bank. And that's not just Lloyds itself. That's like Halifax Bank, that's Schroders, it's all of that. And it also affects like your social conversations. So Snapchat went down, which a lot of people, especially in 2025, they use for pretty much all the conversations. I know someone who fully relies on Snapchat to communicate not just with friends but with home, and also with any people they have. They've even got the driving instructor on there, which is I find quite funny, but you do you. There's also significant security concerns over the cloud, such as hacking, which is quite common, as I'm sure you're aware, and also data breaches, because you're not in control of your data if it goes to the cloud provider is, and they have a duty to take care of that data. But then there's always a risk of them failing to comply with that duty, which can lead to data breaches, which also leads to identity theft and fraud, bringing up the point of privacy risks, such as having photos leaked if it's hacked, ransomware attacks where your data is taken from that cloud provider and it's held until you pay a fee. Yeah, they're all quite common attacks, even though not many people hear of them. And finally, the key drawback, apart from outages, is dependence. And this was noticed during the outages, is that many companies rely on just one single provider, which can become a significant problem because if that provider shuts down, the entire service is shut down. Someone commented on one of my videos on TikTok the other day, about this AWS attack, and she said her business had been affected because one of the key systems that they used shut down, which means their business couldn't operate at all. It was a restaurant, and if they hadn't closed the next day, they would have lost a significant amount of money compared to if they had kept it open. Which is a scary fact because businesses, they don't always have a stable income. So if your income's reliant on something fragile like the cloud, then it can be quite scary. So what we've learned is that cloud services crash. And I want to make sure that you know that AWS isn't the only one that crashes. It's also been common in the past. So take for example, just in June of this year, Google Cloud failed because of faulty code in an automated quota update in their identity and access management system. Now that's a lot of words. And essentially, to sum it up, it was a failure on their behalf. But that affected everyone that uses services. So I think it's important to make sure that we use a hybrid model. So this is usually applied in a business setting, but you can apply it at home. You can have your data stored on your laptop or a USB stick, but then also back it up into the cloud. To prevent you losing data when these shutdowns happen, it's important to always make sure that you keep your data safe. You can't rely on anyone else to keep your data safe because at the end of the day, they're not going to. It's not their priority. Well, yeah, they might say it is, but it's not their priority. Their priority is making money. So, with this being said, what's the future of the cloud? As we know, and as I covered in the last episode, AI is increasingly being integrated into everything. And cloud computing is one of those things that is being integrated into. And it's very good. It helps businesses automate tasks using services like Microsoft Power Automate. It allows them to get insights from data by collecting that data from multiple different locations and collating it into one dashboard, which could be used by literally any department that needs to use it. It's quite a collaborative tool. And overall, it allows you to make better decisions. And the integration essentially drives the advancements that we see today in healthcare, education, and all the other fields that I mentioned today. And it essentially improves our quality of life. So, like I said, AI isn't always a bad thing. There's another thing coming out around the cloud, something called edge computing. Now, edge computing is a distributed computing model that positions processing nearer to the network's edge, supporting quicker and more efficient data handling. Now, this seems like a really complicated concept, but it's not. It essentially does what it says, processes data nearer to the network's edge, essentially making data access quicker for you as a customer, rather than having to wait for it to load, how it takes time to sometimes download files, etc. This essentially makes the computing. This essentially makes it quicker. And then we have quantum computing. This concept has been around for ages, and it does exist, but it's not out there fully yet. So quantum computing, it has a potential to revolutionize the cloud computing sector, and it can support large, when I say large, I mean really large amounts of data, all into a small little fraction of time, meaning it can be transferred at the speed of really quickly. I'm not going to say the speed of light because that's not proven yet, but really, really quickly. And it leads to breakthroughs in things like cryptography, which is a key player in cybersecurity. And it also allows for complex systems to be simulated before they're built, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's all I'm covering for today for the cloud. I hope that was insightful, and I hope to catch you in the next one. And don't forget to keep an eye out on the socials to see which special guest I'll be having on soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the ByteGuard podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the podcast and share it with someone who loves tech as much as you do. Stay safe, stay smart, and I'll catch you in the next one.